Right.
They got you thinking that the Bible is shrink down to 6,000 years, and what they have done is taken our history that's 25 or 50,000 years old and squeeze it down into that. And that's how powerful this truth is because how can you talk about the planet wasn't here past 6,000 years ago, according to the thinking of the churches, right?
That's right.
Everything started 6,000 years ago. Adam and Eve, the whole planet was built in 7 days. So therefore, when you start talking about 25,000, 50,000 years ago, our people can't handle that. Okay? I'm sorry about that. So, anyway. Now, another thing. Ramesses. Well, you know, this is class today. I understand that. This is not normal teachings. Okay? Yeah. This here is maize. That's part of his name, maize. Okay? In here, my son, when we was over there, those are corn. That's corn being hung up to dry. All right? And it's maize. Well, that's where his name comes from, Ramesses. But the maize is what's the corn over here in America called. But they're trying to make you think that we didn't know anything about maize in Egypt. But that was a part of the name, which means to be born or birth. Moses was named by an Egyptian, not a Hebrew, according to the Bible. I drew him out of the water. So that was named by an Egyptian. So they're telling you in a slick way that his name is not a Hebrew name. It's an Egyptian name, and that comes from the same as Ramesses. Here's that same thing, the Mask. Well, this is the Masket here, the place of resurrection in heaven, the place of resurrection on earth. The Masket. That's the box. See, they try to put our Egyptian Kemetic people into a polytheistic heathen position because they're trying to hide the knowledge of us from us. Okay, that's why they made him Sir Wallace Budge, the first major writer of the hieroglyphs in terms of translation, to change everything up to hide the technology and to hide the history that's in there talking about us. Further. Now, in our lessons, we've taught about the Nile Valley. How long is the Nile Valley? 4,000 miles. Why is it in our lessons? You know what I mean? It's one of why is it in our lessons? The Nile Valley, the Nile River being 4,000 miles long. So it's right there, but we don't pay no attention to it.
Yes, sir.
So I paid attention to it. And I started studying the Nile Valley and found out that the Nile River was not there 25,000 years ago. A geologist, before they put in the Aswan High Dam, they went and they studied all this back here, where they was going to flood. Because once it's flooded, they'll never be able to get to it again. So this geologist, along with archaeologists, studied this area here and all the Nile Valley. Because they knew this was going to transform it forever. So they studied the soil. And they found out that 25,000 years ago, that this river here was not there. In fact, the Mediterranean Sea had encroached all the way up to Aswan. So that whole valley, it's called the Nile Valley in Egypt, was covered by the Mediterranean Sea. And this is what the geologists say. We're not talking about pseudoscientists. We're talking about geologists. They said that this was covered by seawater. And they said that something happened 25,000 years ago. Something happened, and the water came into the valley and began to drop sediments and built up the Nile Valley. And then the water came all the way to the Mediterranean Sea, and 15,000 years ago it began to build the delta, and the delta is there now because of the sediments that was brought down from the upper Nile down to the lower Nile. People say, the Nile Valley, the Nile River is flowing from south to north. Yeah, it's still going downhill. Water don't travel based on geography. Water travels based on gravity. And the upstream is way down here, starts off in Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria is where the water starts off. and then it flows all the way up in here. But 25,000 years ago, the geologists say the water would get stopped in what's called the belly of the stone. Okay, here is, I'm trying to give you something you might know about. Okay, here's the Blue Nile, and here's where the White Nile come together. This is Khartoum right down here in this area right here. This is the White Nile, that's the one that goes off from Lake Victoria. This was the Blue Nile that goes up to Lake Tana in Ethiopia. They meet down here at Khartoum. Okay? Now what happened is that there are these little lines right here. They represent the cataracts. You got cataract here, first cataract, second, third, on down. These are the cataracts. Now what the cataracts are, this is from the second cataract. The cataracts are where all the river from all the water from the Nile River. So here's the Nile River. Okay, that's how wide it is coming this direction, going north. Then for some reason, all the water goes through this right here. It's constricted. So it goes from a wide to a very constricted, and they call it a cataract. It's like when your eyes have cataracts. Okay, the light is constricted. Well, it's constricted. But here's the deal. If it goes through all right here, how you get all this water here to go here? The only way you can do it is dig down deep enough here so you turn it. In other words, instead of the water going flowing this way, you dig a deep trench and then it flips that way and goes through that way. Okay? But the problem is, this is granite. Water cannot cut through granite. It can only cut through its lowest depth. In other words, if the river is, say, 10 feet high, it can't cut a trench 40 feet deep. You understand that? I know y'all don't understand that, because this is why we don't know nothing no more. Therefore, it's hard for us to figure stuff out. Okay? So we get ourselves back up into understanding the science of our planet. Water cannot cut beneath its own bed, especially through granite. It can't do that. Somebody has to have done that. Somebody has to have blown up that hole and cut through the mountain the way you do when you lay out a road. When you lay out a road, you run into an impediment. You either cut it down, you go under it, or you go over it.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Well, that's what we did 7 times. To let the water through, because the water was getting blocked by these mountains. So what we do is cut through those mountains. And when you're building a river, or you're building, let's say, a dam, you put in a secondary dam to hold the water back when you work in the dry part. And you divert the water so you can build up, and then you let that water back. Well, see, this is a remnant of a dam. This right here was a dam at one time. So what they did was block off the water so they could do the work, and then let the water back through, and then divert the water around it, then let the water back through once, and then blow the dam up here, and let the water through there. They did that 7 times. It's called the 7 cataracts. Well, we actually laid out a plan. We do it at the farm this is where you do it. I said, I got some irrigation I want to run on the land at the farm. I let the water out, and the water is going to find its own course until it runs into an impediment. So what I do is follow the water until it runs into an impediment. When it runs into an impediment, then I take my hoe and I remove that impediment.
Right.
Then the water goes again. And the water will flow until it runs into another impediment. Then I go to that impediment and I remove that impediment. So after a while, the water flows all the way from the source, all the way across my field to water my crops. I didn't have to make the whole course. I just had to follow the water. So how would you build a Nile River? Well, what you would do is you would dam up the Lake Victoria, the exit of the water out of Lake Victoria. Dam that up, force it to come out another direction. Let that water flow until it flow north until it runs into an impediment. Then it runs into an impediment, you cut that impediment. Then the next year, you let it run. And you find out, let it run until it finds its own way. When it runs into an impediment, then that's what he said, that's what we're going to cut in the dry season, and that's when we're going to cut that impediment. Can't cut it in the wet season, can't cut it when the river's flowing, but you can see, you mark it, say, look, in the dry season, we're going to cut that. So it takes years
Yes, sir.
to make a path for it. But it means you got to dig a trench for 4,000 miles. You got to let the water define its own way. Water will always seek its own level. It will always, through gravity, go downhill. So then you just follow the water, and when it runs into an impediment, you remove the impediment. That's how you make a river.
Okay.
So they made that river, and then it filled in all this area here with sediment. Because when it was going through the mountains now, every year when it goes through, it would wash down more soil. And then it would wash down, and then when it recedes, the flood recedes, that soil would drop down and build up the Nile Valley, and it do it every year. So over a 10,000 year period, it built up the Nile Valley all the way to here, and then after that it built up last 15,000 years, it built up the delta and actually made the richest soil on the planet. And it's so rich because every year it would bring down new sediments. Now, at the farm, right now we're doing bottom plow. We're flipping the dirt over to cover up the weeds, okay, the seeds. But they didn't have to do that because the river would bring in new topsoil every year. So all they had to do was wait till it dried and go out there and plant. They didn't have no weeds and had nothing but fresh topsoil.
Oh. Wow.
Okay, so they had built the most efficient agricultural system ever been built. Because they got new soil every year, and the soil didn't have no weeds in it, and therefore they didn't have to fight the weeds, they didn't have to fertilize. All they had to do was put the seed out there and harvest.
Wow, that's how they do it.
And that's how they did it, and that's how they became the kings of the world, because they had food when nobody else had food. They bought people, they bought nations with food, not with weapons.
Right.
With food. Okay? The PL-480 plans in America, they did the same thing, taking the grains and giving it to other countries to get the countries, there's aid to the countries, to make the countries dependent on America. Well, that's what the Egyptians used to do. Now, you know, Kemet means black, not stupid. I just want to let y'all know that. We did not spend 30 years to build a pyramid for a dead person. Okay? I mean, that's kind of stupid. All right? Elijah Muhammad said that we do everything right and exact. Yes, ma'am.
When you were saying about the black soil, that made me think about the gift of the Nile, because once the Nile went over that black soil, they would have rich black soil.
Well, not run over it, bring it. Okay? Okay? Egypt was the gift of the Nile because the Nile would actually bring the black soil.
Right.
Okay? Thank you. All right? So that's what we had developed. Now, this is inside the Great Pyramid of Khufu. There's two things I know that a dead man don't need. He don't need air vents.
Right.
And he don't need water. So why, with all that structure, you're going to have air vents going into what you call the king's chamber and the queen's chamber, where you said somebody's supposed to be buried there. They never found nobody in them. Not one pyramid, not the Great Pyramid, not any of them. Okay? And Herodotus said that 200 feet beneath the pyramid was a lake. It took them 10 years to build a lake. Why the hell would you build a lake 200 feet beneath a rock? A rock. Why would you build a lake? And then bury somebody? No, they're hiding technology.
Right.
This water was used to actually build the pyramid, and then after it was used to be purified and used as drinking water and irrigation water. Okay, for the delta part of Egypt. Take you a little further. Let me show you what in my book I've studied studying other books to find out what's in each of the pyramids. The first one is Zoser, the location of Saqqara. The status of sarcophagus. The sarcophagus is the is the stone block that has a hole in it cut out. They said that's supposed to be for the body of the Pharaoh. Sarcophagus. But it was empty. Empty. Here, this one, the Kaaba, which I'm going to talk about later, the Kaaba didn't have one of them. Didn't have a sarcophagus in it. But it didn't have a sarcophagus in it, then evidently it wasn't a tomb. Didn't even have one. Clear. None, none, none. Now, Cheops, Khufu, the Great Pyramid, empty. Jedefra, the Abu Rosh, none. Chevron, which was the empty. Mycerinus at Giza had bones in it, but when they carbon dated the bones, it was from the Christian period. The building, they say, was built at least 4,500 years ago. I say 5,500 years ago, but taking the lowest estimate, 4,500 years ago. Jesus was not here until 2,000 years ago. Therefore, it's an intrusion that somebody put in there, but it wasn't Mycerinus' pyramid for him to be buried there, because they didn't find him nor anybody else who was from that time period. They found some bones, and that's the only place I've ever found any bones. And those bones are no older than 2,000 years. Okay, see, this is what you call science up in here, right? Now, look at all these. None, empty. Look down here. Water, water, water. Okay? Some of the pyramids, they actually found water in them. Now, it's one thing, you don't bury somebody in water, and you don't dig down to 200 feet of solid sandstone rock to get the water, and then bury somebody there. You're trying to preserve the body. Okay? But for those of you who don't know, the most important element in a desert, or any place else on earth, is water. You can go without food for a long time, but you can't go without water for a long time. All right? You will go crazy first. First you go crazy. See, God is so merciful. If you don't drink water for a long time, you go crazy. And when you go crazy, it says you're on a fast. I'm not going to drink no water. But when you go crazy, you're going to forget that you're on the fast and you're going to drink some water. So anyway, God, stop, shut up. Okay, now they say that we didn't know anything about cars in ancient Egypt. Well, this is a word called car, and that's a determinant. This is K-A-R, car, and that's what's called the determinant. That's the little picture to tell you what that is. Everybody ever seen the Flintstones?
Yes.
Huh? That ain't what the Flintstones called. But look what he said. Shrine, sanctuary, chapel. Gods are the same sanctuary, chapel. He don't say car. He don't say anything about a car with wheels on it, right? This is Budge. Oh, it's a shrine. It's a sanctuary. It's a chapel. Why do you need wheels on the stuff? See, I thought the Egyptians didn't know anything about wheels, right? But here's a car. Now, the Egyptians knew about wagons and chariots and wheels, but it wasn't that important to them. This was important to them. Canals, boats, barges, sailors, oars, because they were a hydraulic society. Their society built off of the Nile on water, and they moved stuff around on barges because they had a bunch of canals running across all the farmland. Plus, remember, it floods every year. Then when it floods every year, it's going to be boggy, right? You don't try to drive no car, no wheels, or no wheelbarrows or nothing over no boggy area. So the way they transported everything was on canals and on boats. Through the canals on boats. That's how they moved stuff around. Okay? They couldn't use the wagons because of all the canals and all the wet spots. Okay? Now, this gets down into how were they built. Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, Master Farad Muhammad taught him that the pyramids were built with a system of hydraulics. Okay, he didn't say hydraulic cranes, right? He said hydraulics. And what does hydraulics mean? Water. So, what I found, remember, the underground lake. There's an underground tunnel that we know goes all the way from the Giza Plateau to Aswan. So I took it further down south of Abu Simbel, because Aswan will be right here. Why do I know that there's an underground tunnel that goes from the Giza Plateau all the way down to Aswan? Because when we was over there, in 1989, there was a hole in the floor of the Valley Temple for capital. Valley Temple had a hole in the floor. So I asked him, and in the hole was a pipe. So I asked the caretaker, I said, what's that? He said, a hole. Okay. What's that in the hole? He said, a pipe. I said, okay. Where does that water come from that's in that pipe? Right here at the Nile, which is like 2 miles away. At the Nile, he said, no, Aswan. He said, no, Aswan. So how could water at the Giza Plateau be coming from Aswan, except you got an underground tunnel that went all the way from Aswan, which is like 400 miles away. Okay? And we saw pieces of that tunnel at a place called Abydos, which I showed on another film. We saw pieces of that tunnel. So this is real. They had a tunnel going all the way past Aswan to Abu Simbel. Why? Because when you bring water in at a higher elevation to a lower elevation, and you keep it under pressure, and then you dig a pipe, and you make a pipe, and that water is going to go up to the same height that it went in at. You can test this by taking a water hose, sticking it to a container, okay, and open the valve on the bottom of that container. Hold the water hose up over the height of the container. The water won't flow. You drop the water hose down to below the tank, the water will flow. Okay? So that's called artesian pressure. So this is how they're able to float the stones up with an internal elevator, water elevator, to float the stones up. I mean, it's hot, and you're in the desert. It's 100 degrees. Can I work on the pyramids, please? So I can play in the water. They was playing in the water to build the pyramids. So yeah, everybody want that job in the summertime. Yeah, I go work on the pyramids. They got them pictures of, they show you these movies of them people pushing them. They don't have no wheels, right? So they pushing them bad around, all these stones. They, oh, yeah, pushing. They floated them. They floated them. They floated them through canals, they floated them down the river, then they floated them through the canals, up to the pyramids, inside it, and then they floated them up. It wasn't nothing but a party. Okay. See, now our young people's brains, see, this type of teaching unlocks our young people's brains.
Yeah,
That's right.
Freedom.
See, all that spooky stuff they be teaching about Egypt and the Africans, doing all type of dances and stuff, and you ain't got no connection to science. You just think the people just, just crazy as hell. But there's some science behind all that stuff, and I'm just trying to show you the science of how we built the pyramids.
Freedom to think.
Now, here's the Giza Plateau, and the Great Pyramid right here. Okay? This is what they call the Delta, which is the richest piece of land in the world. And starting 12,960 years ago, blacks built the Delta. We built the Delta. How did we build the Delta? We remember the floods that come in every year. We dropped stones in a perfect 90-degree arc from the Giza Plateau because we took the stones from around the Sphinx and we dropped that out. That's how we made the Sphinx. We didn't build the Sphinx, we cut it out. And we dropped the stones out into the Mediterranean Sea. And those stones will slow down the progress of the river. And as it slowed down the progress of the river, then the sediments will drop out. So over a 12,000 year period, we built the richest, this is the richest piece of land in the world. Is the Delta of Egypt. But we built that. Okay?
Wow.
All right. Now, one of the symbols of Egypt is called the Tet symbol. Okay? But the Tet symbol is where Osiris was hid at. But see, Osiris means water. And so, that's a Tet symbol. It's nothing but a water tower. And this symbol here, they say, means stability. So people going around the Tet symbol, this is stability. Well, it is stability because a water tower stabilizes the water in your pipes. If you have a well, and you pump water out of directly from the well into your pipes, every time you flush, you're going to tear something up. It has to go into a holding tank. Okay? Then the holding tank allows the water to come out at an even pressure. So when you flush the toilet, turn on and off spigots, it don't bust the pipes because the water is stabilized through gravity by keeping it up higher, all right, and then allowing gravity to push it through the pipes, which is a control different from a pump pumping it out.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I know this is like, Doc, what the hell are you talking about? Study, okay? Because this is what we had a hydraulic society. And you cannot, you have the king in Egypt always putting up these tet symbols. You cannot have a town without a water tower. You can have individual wells out in the countryside, but to have a town that the water is centralized water, you got to have somewhere to store it. You got to have a water tower. And as quiet as it's kept, on every skyscraper, every building in a city that's over a certain height, in there somewhere up top, you're going to find a water tower. Because they pump that water up to that water tower, and then it allowed it to be dispersed to the rest of the building through gravity, so that it don't bust pipes. So when you travel down, you go in a little town and city, you will see on the top of the buildings, you will see one of these on top of the buildings. Even in Chicago. But you never even think about what it is. But it's a water tower to stabilize the water in the pipes, so the pipes don't bust. Okay? All this they got from us and use the same technology, and we don't even know what the technology is. Right now, you drive down the road and you point to a water tower and you ask me what that is. They can't tell you what it is. Didn't ask them what it do. They can't tell you what it do. But they can't live without it. Okay? That's called the dumbing down of America.
Yes, sir.
Now, this is the Great Pyramid. This is Khafra. This is Menkaure. This is the Western Cemetery. When I put this here, but usually when I put this up, I don't have that in. And I ask people what that is. I say, well, if you're able to connect the dots, what would that be? And the children pick it up immediately. They say, that's America. And you can see that it is America. Here's Florida. Here's Texas. Here's the Great Lakes. Here's Maine. Here's California. So what is a map of America doing on a rock in Africa 6,000 years ago? And see, I gave a presentation one time, the brother asked me and said, are you saying that the Egyptians knew history in advance? 6,000 years in advance?
That's right.
I said, he's a Muslim. I said, do you believe that we write history 25,000 years in advance? Well, if we write history 25,000 years in advance, then surely somebody can write history 6,000 years in advance and leave the record. So what the Egyptians have done, they have left the history that the white man thought he had hid and destroyed in books. They left it in the whole Nile Valley. So the Nile Valley is the book that they're looking for. The Nile Valley is the book that the white man is looking for so he can destroy it. But instead of destroying the book, him looking for the book uncovered the book. Because this stuff was covered by sand. But he looking for the book. He took the sand off and he put it in books so that others can study it and find out where the treasure is. So what we did was sucker the white boy into cleaning off the books for us to read.
All right.
Okay, that's a whole other story, y'all, but it's deep anyway. So now, the so-called Book of the Dead. It was called, the real name was the Book of Coming Forth by Day. It was not the Book of the Dead. But I just want to show you something. The first part starts with dua. Dua. Five-pointed star. And what is that person doing? Praying. That's dua. That's the first word of the Book of Coming Forth by Day. Dua. Because we prayed 5 times a day. You understand? We prayed 5 times a day. Dua. To do something in the morning. Dua. Morning. Dua. Praise. To adore. To honor. Okay? So, the first word in the book of Coming Forth by Day, which is on our walls, was Dua. All right? Now, I told you about the Masket, right? It's
Yes,
a
sir.
resurrection in heaven, the Masket. That's the mosque. See, these people are so good, the Jews, that they have taken and hid the truth in plain sight.
Yes, sir.
Okay? The same way we hid the truth from them in plain sight, they hid the truth from us in plain sight. So now we read the stuff, we don't even know what we're looking at no more. Okay. Now, the pyramids were not built on a straight line of the Giza Plateau. It was built on a circle. This circle is a half mile long. I mean, half the diameter, the radius is a half mile. This circle. Now, the other pyramids were also built on circles. This is Giza Plateau. It goes all the way down here to Saqqara. Okay. It was 5 different sets of pyramids, all of them set on the same dimensional circle. And you took a line through the center of those, it connects those sets of pyramids. Then you take that line and you stretch that line out from the Giza Plateau. The one going through Khufu's pyramid goes to a little town called Khufu, and the ones that goes through Menkaura's pyramid goes through Mecca itself. And then when you take this line right here, it comes from Mecca through the pyramids around the world, it winds up in Detroit.
Wow.
If I had my globe, I can show that to you. Okay? So Master Farad Muhammad knew where to find who he was looking for.
Oh, praise.
Wow.
He knew where to go to find his uncle. Who is his uncle? The brother of his father. His father made Master Farad Muhammad to go in the hells of North America to look for his brother. That's why they knew each other when they saw each other. See, we owe a lot to Master Farad Muhammad's father.
Yes, sir.
Because he was on the seats that we would like to be on one day. He was on the council. He was one of the scientists. He disagreed with those who said that we need to kill them all. The white man and the Negroes, all of them. It's not worth it. He said, no, I'm going to go get them. He made a son when he got a white woman. Cleaned her up from the Caucasus Mountains. Cleaned her up and made a son. And sent his son over here to find his father. I mean his brother. Now look how beautiful this love story is. Hope I don't start crying.
Yes, sir.
There's niggas, I shouldn't say niggas. There's niggas right now who trying to say that the Nation of Islam follows a white man. Because you see Master Farad Muhammad, I'm going to show you this picture, he looks like a white man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay? But his daddy was black and his mama was white.
Yes, sir.
What he did, he made Elijah Muhammad the eternal leader of the Nation of Islam.
Okay.
So you can't say that we following a white man, we follow Elijah Muhammad,
That's
a
right.
Georgia-born black man.
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
Come on, come on.
He gave the power to Elijah over everything in the universe except himself.
That's right.
Elijah got the finger on the button for America. He gave that over to Elijah. Because he knows how our minds think.
Come on.
Oh yeah, see, they gonna say they follow a white man. So what I do is I give all the power to Elijah and step back. Deal with him.
Yeah.
Good teaching, Dr. Lee.
Yes, very beautiful.
You talking about a love story, man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Here
sir.
you the God? But you go teach somebody else, put the God in him,
Yes, sir.
and then you step back and tell them you got this, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, that's to pay us back for the 400 years that we went through.
Yes, sir.
To balance the universe off.
Yes, sir.
We cried out
That's right.
for God.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Couldn't get no help. That's an imbalance. Thank you, praise be God. That's an imbalance
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
in the universe. So, Master Farad Muhammad's father figured out a science of how to balance the universe. So now, there's going to be a new universe.
Yes.
Over time,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
but it will be built off of that one black man,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. That's
right.
Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir. That's right. Come
And
on.
those of us who follow him can be a piece of that pie.
That's right.
That's right.
He's building a whole world based on this nigger in America you made, white man. You made him into a nigger. You took my children, you made them to a nigger, but I'm going to make them the cornerstone that the builders have rejected. I'm going to build a new universe on them.
That's right.
Oh, praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Excuse me, y'all.
Yes, sir.
Teeth, brother.
And then I went and looked at the different temples all up and down the Nile. I ain't gonna show you the division ones. Each one of these, A, D, B, E, C, G, E, F, all these represent temples. And they are, all of them are aligned not just to the east, they are aligned to Mecca. See, the whole book is in the Nile Valley. All right? Because we knew what this cracker go do. So what we did was we made the book so big that he couldn't see around it. But each story, each one of them temples has a piece of the history in it. But you got to read it geometrically. Because they knew they might scrape the walls down. So they laid it out geometrically, so you got to know some geometry, and then you can read the book.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Because mathematics in Islam is
Islam.
mathematics,
Yeah.
and geometry. A square is a GD square.
Come on.
I don't care what language it in. A square do the same thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay? A round thing do the same. Squares don't roll. Round things do.
Right.
I don't care what you call it. If it's a round thing, it'll roll. If it's a square, I don't care what you call it, it ain't gonna roll. Okay? So, we said what we'll do, this was Imhotep. When you see Imhotep, you already see Imhotep carrying a scroll or a book. And it is said that nothing that are built of stone in the Nile Valley could be built except by the instructions of the book that Imhotep carried. So he took the history from the book and he laid it out on the ground. It took thousands of years to finish the book out. But he knew that the cracker would try to destroy everything that we could possibly read to hide himself and us.
Yes, sir.
So we put it in the geometry. So when our young people could study geometry and mathematics, they will be able to read our story and write it again.
Oh.
Because we left it.
Yes, sir.
And I tell people, my detractors, I say, I'm trying to piece it together. Because one day, Master Farad Muhammad and Elijah Muhammad will say either I'm correct or I'm incorrect. But I'm not going to sit here and not do the research. Because even when we show the pictures of Elijah Muhammad's wives, it showed that they're not teenagers. Or even when they stood forth in 1993 on stage and said that it was Malcolm had a problem because he was jealous. And Elijah Muhammad was an honorable man. Even when they said that in 1993, this Negro trying to say, Farrakhan paid them to say that. I'll get to that in a minute.
Yes,
So,
sir.
no matter what you tell a Negro, he gonna find a way to hide because the Negro's scared. Okay. Now, and our Savior has arrived. The messenger wrote these weighty words about historical Jesus. Jesus came to the Jews and not to us. Then he got disappointed that he was ahead of time of the Jews to preach the doctrine of the destruction or judgment and the setting up of a new kingdom of heaven after destruction of the Jews' civilization. Jesus was born 2,000 years ahead of the judgment of the Jews. Okay? But Muhammad, Elijah, and the Minister Farrakhan are on time.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Now,
Come on. Come on.
Here's the promise. This is Genesis. Most of y'all have seen this before, but I'm going to show it to you a little bit different in a minute. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance. We all seen this. And the Jews are not enslaved in Egypt. America has fulfilled this, talking about that promise, to the very letter and spirit with her slaves, the so-called Negroes, under the type of Israel. The Egyptians did nothing of the kind to Israel when they were in bondage to them. In fact, as God taught me, the Bible is not referring to those people as his people. It is referring to the so-called Negroes and his enemy, the white race. That story in the Bible is a prophecy.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
It didn't happen.
Right.
Right.
And the Jews have proven that it didn't happen. They have gone and done the research archaeologically and found out that the Exodus never happened. All right? Now, let me show you something else. Turn it just a little bit, sister. That way. No, not you. No, you the camera. With the front. Just a little bit. A little bit. Oh, a little bit more. A little more. A little more. A little more. Oh, okay, good. You can read it now. Okay, this is from Genesis 47:20-23. And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. For the Egyptians sold every man his field because the famine prevailed over them, so the land became Pharaoh's. Wait a minute. How can the land become Pharaoh when the Pharaoh's a king, supposedly, and the king owns everything? Why did he have to buy the land from his own people?
Come on.
He must be an outsider. He must be a usurper. Why would he have to buy the land from the Egyptians for Pharaoh? The king owned everything. And as for the people, he removed them to cities, from one end of the borders of Egypt even to the other end thereof. Only the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion signed them by Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their land. These are sellouts.
Come on.
The priests are sellouts. Just like the preachers are sellouts.
Yes, sir.
The priests back then were sellouts. Then Joseph said unto the people, behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall sow the land. So I have bought you. What does that mean?
Slaves.
They're slaves. I have bought you. So right there in your King James Version, Genesis 47:20-23, we did not enslave Joseph and the Jews. They came in and enslaved us. And they put it right there in their own book. Okay? Remember that, 47:20-23. We use Goliath's weapon. As you know, David hit Goliath in the middle of the head with a rock.
Right.
Knocked Goliath down. Then he took Goliath's own sword and cut his head off. See, you have took the Bible and messed it up. Elijah Muhammad, through the keys that Master Farad Muhammad gave him, we can take that same book and beat you upside the head. Okay? Now look, the sign of God's covenant was Abraham. Genesis 17:9-11. And God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and he shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. So supposedly, the Jews practice circumcision on the male child to show that they are the people of the covenant with Abraham. Okay? Histories of Herodotus. Herodotus lived between 425 BC from 484 BC down to 425 BC. BC goes backwards. This is in his books. When I was in college, I had to read this stuff. later on I was able to pull some things out of it. Still, the Egyptians said that they believed the Colchians to be descended from the army of Sesostris. My own conjectures were founded first on the fact that they are black-skinned and have woolly hair, which certainly amounts to but little since several other nations are so too, but further and more especially on the circumstance that the Colchians, the Egyptians, and the Ethiopians, the Nubians, are the only nations who have practiced circumcision from the earliest times. Did you just hear what I said?
Yes, sir.
The only. He didn't say nothing about no damn Jews. And the Jews were right there in the area that he was going back and forth in Palestine in 484 to 425 BC. He never even said anything about Jews. Okay? He said that the people who were circumcised, these Colchians, I'm going to show you where the Colchians lived, they were Egyptians, because he said only the circumstance that the Colchians, the Egyptians, and Ethiopians, or Nubians, are the only nations who have practiced circumcision from the earliest times. So if circumcision is a sign of the covenant, who is a covenant with?
All right.
It's with the Ethiopians and the Egyptians and the Colchians.
Yes, sir.
Now let's see who the Colchians are. This is where the Colchians were found by Herodotus. Here where the Colchians are. It's Colchia. This is the Caucasus Mountains. This here on this side, there's a wall called the Wall of Derbent. What this was we put them behind the Caucasus Mountains and we sent soldiers to keep them there.
Yes, sir.
The Colchians were the remnants of the soldiers that we put there at the foot of the Caucasus Mountains to keep the white boy in for 2,000 years.
Yes, sir.
And that's why Herodotus say the Colchians must be Egyptians or Ethiopians because they were black with woolly hair. But more than that, a lot of nations are black with woolly hair. The Colchians were also circumcised. So here you got the Colchians who were circumcised, and at a later date, we mistakenly made the mistake. I didn't want to show you all the picture because it's got sisters here. But we can show you the picture from the walls of Egypt where we are circumcised. The dark man is circumcised in the light man. But I didn't want to put this on this because I don't want the sisters, that's not, you should put that up. But there's pictures of us circumcising these white boys.
Yes, sir.
Should have never done that. Okay, anyway. Now later on, these are the Ashkenazi Jews. The Ashkenazi Jews come from a place called Khazaria, which is behind the Caucasus Mountains. So these are the new Jews who now have taken over Judaism. They only became Jews 1,200 years ago. But they're the Ashkenazi Jews have taken over from the Sephardi and the Mizrahi Jews as being the predominant Jews. And they got the Mizrahi and the Sephardic Jews killed in Germany and Poland in the Second World War by Hitler, who was also a crypto Jew. They killed the white Jews, killed off the dark Jews, and now the white Jews have come to take over Palestine, which they would never end in the first place. Y'all get that?
Yes, sir.
You see, there's a serious game going on. But they made a mistake and jumped on Farrakhan in 1984. Now their whole history has got to be unveiled. Okay? So it's the Ashkenazi Jews who are going against Farrakhan. Okay? And these are the white Jews who have just recently accepted Judaism. But they're not Semites. Semites are half-breeds. The Persians, the Iranians, the Arabs, the Palestinians. All that area there, they are half-breeds. As a matter of fact, if you took a picture of, what the football player's name? Kaepernick, who we know is a half-breed, and put him next to Darius and Nebuchadnezzar and Cyrus, they look like twins.
Come on.
Because they're all half-breeds. Okay. Now, I'm moving from this history and this knowledge to the present day. Okay?
Yes, sir.
People ask us, why do we keep bringing up Malcolm X? We don't.
Exactly.
The Ashkenazi do to fight Farrakhan. We didn't make that movie in 1992 called Malcolm X. The nation didn't do that. We're not the ones who put it on TV every year, at least once a year. They put it on TV the week before Minister did his press conference in November 16th. Me and Sister Ann saw it on Bounce TV the week before they put up the movie Malcolm X.
Yes, sir.
Okay, they put up all the time to keep our young people away from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Now, FBI secret files of Black America. Division 5 also worked to prevent the rise of a Messiah. Now, I want to stop right there. The FBI files did not say prevent the rise of a black Messiah. It said prevent the rise of a Messiah. They didn't have to say black. Because the FBI, the Jews, know who the Messiah is going to be coming to save a people that's been enslaved, and that's us. They know the Messiah is going to be black. They didn't have to say black because Messiah means black to them. Because they know that's who it's going to be. When people get up and talk, they say, see, we got proof they were looking for the black Messiah. No, they were looking for the Messiah of the whole world. They were black.
That's right. Come on.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Mr. Farrakhan are not the Messiah just for black people. They are the Messiah.
Yes,
Period.
Good teaching.
All right.
Okay. Someone who could unify and electrify the militant black nationalist movement. Malcolm X had been the most likely candidate, but his assassination removed that threat. Malcolm was simply the martyr of the movement today. Muhammad was hardly a more viable threat because of his age. In the final analysis, Division 5 said Carmichael and King were the only serious candidates. And they ran Carmichael out of the country. And then they killed King. Okay? But they got Malcolm in there, and they got Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So what they decided to do was kill two birds with one stone when they killed Malcolm. Let's go over this. The movie, Malcolm X. Why did the producers of this movie give life to the image of Malcolm and then put words in his mouth? You go to Revelations 13 and 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. The image of the beast. And that image of the beast should both speak, that's called motion pictures, with sound. And cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Malcolm is a god. And you got to follow Malcolm, the lie that Malcolm spoke and the lie that they put on him, or you will be ostracized from this world. Now, the movie, Malcolm X. In the movie, Malcolm had a vision of Elijah Muhammad visiting him in his jail cell. However, that is not what Malcolm said in the autobiography of Malcolm X. Page 192, and I quote, I would later come to believe that my prevision was of Master W.D. Farad, the Messiah, the one who Elijah Muhammad said had appointed him. Elijah Muhammad as his last messenger of the black people of North America. That's from the autobiography of Malcolm X himself. He said that he later realized who he saw when he was in jail, who he did not know. This man right here was who he saw. He did not know. When he came out of jail, he saw that picture and said, that was Master Farad Muhammad that visited me in my cell. So why did they change that in the movie? Why did instead of putting Master Farad Muhammad, why did they put Elijah Muhammad in the movie? Because they knew if they put that picture up, then the people would say, if he saw him, how can he say in 1964 that Elijah lied to him about a white man being a Muslim? How could Elijah Muhammad lie to him about the white man being a Muslim when he saw him in his jail cell? For all outside purposes, that looks like a white man. But he's a half-breed. But he looks white. Right? So he saw him then, and Malcolm claimed that Elijah had lied to him about the existence of white Muslims until Malcolm saw them himself in Mecca in 1964. However, the FBI files show that Malcolm in July of 1959 went to Egypt, Mecca, Iran, Syria, Ghana as Elijah Muhammad's ambassador. How could Malcolm see white Muslims in 1964 but not in 1959 or 1952 in his own jail cell?
That's right.
He went there in 1959 You ain't see no white Muslims then? He's a liar. Malcolm is a bold-faced liar. I just want the camera to get that. We ain't playing no more.
Right.
Y'all keep bringing them up, now we will shut it down.
Yes, sir.
You're not gonna use him as a weapon no more. We will take Malcolm, you Jews, you Ashkenazi, and beat you upside the head with Malcolm. How about that? Oh, praise God.
That's right.